Hello everyone, my name is Bethany and this is my channel Theni's Thoughts. Today I'm going to be talking about wrapping up my July, where I participated in the Pop Culture Readathon that was hosted by Whitney and Lauren. I will link my TBR up above and you can see the information about that readathon in the description. It was so much fun. It was a Pop Culture Readathon that was based solely on stuff from the 90s, and I did the board Teen Dream. And also the Discord group that we had was so much fun. We had a blast. I really enjoyed that group and we had a blast. So I'm really excited for future Pop Culture Readathons. I think the next one they're going to do is going to be some mini readathons in November and also September, and then readathon and then monthly long in January. So I'm definitely going to be checking out their readathons in the future because I just had so much fun with it. The thing about the TBR is I didn't read any of the things that I had planned to read. I ended up changing a lot of my TBR and doing a lot of different things, and then I also discovered Libby. So discovering Libby midway through July completely changed my TBR and got me into a bunch of listening to a bunch of audiobooks. So I ended up changing a lot of what I initially planned to read, and I also kind of got in a reading slump as well. So I only read 11 books. So I will go into what I actually read and what I actually thought of it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get through that. The first book that I read is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. That is the second book in the Lumine series. I ended up reading it for the manipulative character prompt, which I plan on reading something else, which I'm not going to say the manipulative character is because it's kind of a spoiler, but it fit close enough that I felt like I went for it. I rated it 4.5 stars. It's about Hannah and Nick, which kind of threw me off in the trilogy because it's new characters, but the characters from the first book were introduced a little bit later. I love the series. It's just so action-packed. There's so much going on. And basically, I mean, the second book was a setup for the last book. I don't think I loved it as much as if I did the first book. I felt like the connection between the characters weren't as well developed as they were in the first book as compared to the second, because you just kind of jump into it right away. But I really still enjoyed it, and I'm super excited about reading the third book in the series, which I have hopefully on my TBR that I'll be reading for this month. The next book that I read was Wasted by Susanna Daniels. That is a book that you forgot in your TBR. That I rated 2.5 stars. Yeah, it wasn't great. It's about Mason and Lexi, and I liked them as individuals, but I did not like them together. And at the very beginning of the book, Lexi basically meets Mason at a bar. She starts working at the bar and she's like, I don't have a place to live. She's talking out loud. And then Mason's like, come stay with me. And she's like, yeah, sure, sounds like a great idea. You literally just met this man. Are you kidding me? No. No woman would ever do that unless he was recommended by a friend of hers or something, as a decent guy. She literally just met him and then decides to move in with him 2 seconds later. Absolutely not. I don't know why, but that really bothered me. And the plot was just a little bit all over the place for me. There's definitely trigger warnings for infant death and alcoholism, cheating. Yeah, so it was a little bit of a mess. I felt like it was trying to be dark and brooding, and it just didn't quite make it there. So there was parts of it that I liked, but just overall it was not great. The next book that I read was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. That was a book that I listened to on audio, and since I'm just barely getting into listening to audiobooks on speed, I only brought it up to 1.25. Some people do 1.5 or 2, which is way too fast for me right now. So initially the book was a 16-hour book. It's really long. And I ended up reading it because it filled 2 prompts. It's a book that intimidates you. Because I saw it on Libby and I was like, ooh, I could listen to an audiobook. That would be interesting, because I was kind of low-key interested in it. And I was like, no, absolutely not. And then I remembered the prompt that I couldn't find a book for. And I was like, oh, that's a book that intimidates me. Okay, fine. So I ended up getting it. But it was long. And it also fulfilled the prompt for mental health. The audio was really great. I thought, I know it's considered Leigh Bardugo's adult book, foraying into adult, which some YA authors have been doing lately. I don't consider it adult. I think it's new adult if it is anything, which is fine because new adult doesn't have to be necessarily just romance. The problem with it was man, did that plot drag. It drags so long. It wasn't until about 30% into it where I was like, okay, things are starting to happen. I'm getting a little bit more into this. On audio, it was a little bit confusing, the time jumps, but I was able to finally kind of adjust to that. If you like a morally gray character, Alex is great for that, I think. I really loved Darlington's character, and then unfortunately, he's not involved for reasons in the second half of the book. Basically, he's my reason to read the second book, because I hope things will happen that he'll be back. Also great for, like, paranormal, a little bit creepy, definitely a little bit violent. I mean, there is, like, drug abuse, trigger warnings for, there was some mentions of sexual assault, death, and yeah, so there's a lot, it's a little much, but in comparison to some stuff I read, it's relatively tame, but it's definitely darker. To go into that expecting that. But I rated it 3.5 stars. The next book I read, also on audio, was on Libby, was The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. That was a book with a sarcastic character. This was a romance with Olive and Ethan. I rated it 4.5 stars. Man, it was close to 5 stars. Like, it was this close. And then we got to the end, which I'll explain in a second. Man, the banter, though, was so good. Olive was so just, the quips that she would come up with were amazing. And I just loved their chemistry so much. I really, really enjoyed it. Definitely a really great Christina Lauren. I think that the romance is relatively tame compared to some of their stuff, but still highly enjoyed it. I participated in a live discussion with Perks of a Book Flower. I'll link her channel below, and had a great discussion about it. It was, I watched the replay, they had a great discussion about it, and I think, and a lot of them had never really read romance before, so it's definitely a great book if you don't read a lot of romance. Yes, I think if you're not used to romance, I think it's a really good intro book into romance, if that's your thing. I really, really enjoyed it quite a lot. The only problem, and this might be, I won't try to give spoilers, but there's a scene where, towards the end, where Olive gets hit on, and Ethan, her love interest, doesn't believe her. With as many issues as there are of men not believing women when women say that they are assaulted or hit on or any sort of interaction with other men, men should believe women, period. Especially someone who's, like, supposed to care about you. And I know why he didn't believe her, and I understand the reasoning for that. And again, don't want to give too many spoilers, but it just made me cringe a little bit. And then his apology didn't go far enough for me. You should vow to believe her all the time. That would be the only acceptable reason to be able to, like, oh yeah, sure, let's get back together. Just rubbed me the wrong way. It really, really bothered me. So I had to kind of dock it for a half star for that. Not a whole star. Man, not a whole star, because it was still really, really good, but oof, that part really, really bothered me. The next book I read was The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. That was a book recommended by a friend prompt. I rated it 5 stars. Another 5-star read. Woo! I don't really rate a lot of things 5 stars. This was really great. I really, really, really enjoyed the story. Kristen and Josh. Kristen is a maid of honor for her best friend, and she meets Josh, who's the best man, and they're not enemies to lovers. They actually kind of have an antagonistic first meeting, but then after that they become really good friends, and then to lovers. So I'd say enemies to friends to lovers, I guess, but more friends to lovers. And their chemistry was just so good, and I really just liked Kristen as a heroine, because she's, like, just basically a super straight shooter. No nonsense. I really liked her character as a heroine, like, as a female. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of, like, female heroines who are very demure and don't communicate, and Kristen's very, like, up in front of your face communication. Granted, there is one big thing that she keeps from Josh, but I totally understand her reasonings for it. Banter is really, really good between them. And then it gets kind of dark towards the end, a little bit darker than expected. I actually, like, shed a few tears. It was really emotional. It struggles with infertility, and then there is an unexpected death of a character. I'm not going to say who. And wow, it just caused all the feels. Oh my goodness. And I just really felt for the two of them. Like, it, like, just when, there's a scene where he's like pleading with her, and I'm just like, my soul was just like, ugh. That's when the book gets 5 stars for me. When it literally makes my heart hurt for this couple. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I know there's some controversial opinions of it for the infertility issue and how it was dealt, but I feel like Abby Jimenez in her author note does mention that it was based on a true story of her own really good friend who has infertility issues, and she based it on that. I can see why there's some people who have issues on it, but as far as just the relationship that it's about and how Josh just does everything for her, whew, that I loved. So I still think give it a 5 stars for me. The next book I read was The Billionaire's Fake Fiancé by Annika Martin. That was the prompt for the book with fake dating. This was about Tabitha and Rex, which was a sunshine and grump trope. I rated 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved their fake dating. I loved their chemistry, and their banter was really, really good. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. The only downside was the ending just fell a little flat for me, but I definitely want to read more from Annika Martin, and I actually really want to check out the rest of the series. The next book in the series, which I think comes out later this year or early next year, sounds really interesting, so I'm here for that. The next book that I read is The Stars We Steal, which I have a physical copy of that. Stars We Steal by Alexa Dawn. First of all, it covers 2 prompts. The book is with stars in the title or cover, Stars We Steal, and it is a retelling. It is a sci-fi retelling of Jane Austen's Persuasion, which I feel like never gets enough love, and so I love the idea that this got a retelling, and so that was really clever and really fun. This was about Leo and Elliot. Leo was female, Elliot was the male, and I rated it 3.5 stars. I really loved her Brightly Burning. That was a retelling of Jane Eyre. The plot wasn't as close to Persuasion as I would have liked, and there's a little bit more espionage in this one than probably the first, than Persuasion actually has. But I still really enjoyed it. I still really liked it. I still enjoyed some of the things she changed and some of the things that I didn't really love. And it's in the same universe. The only problem, one of the issues I had is that it's in the same universe as Brightly Burning, but I couldn't figure out where in the timeline it happened. But then later on I made the connection that it happens earlier than the events in Brightly Burning. But it was just, it was good. It was good. I still really enjoyed it. It was just not great for me. The next book I read was You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. That was the prompt for a book with enemies to lovers. This I rated 4.5 stars. This is about Naomi and Nicholas, and oh man, oh man, oh man. So it's actually essentially lovers to enemies to lovers. They are engaged. They loved each other. They got engaged, and then they hated each other. And it's kind of a story about how they kind of fall back in love with each other. I heard a lot of mixed reviews from this one. I've seen a lot of people love it, and then I've seen a lot of people really strongly dislike it. I liked it more than I expected I would. I think because there's a lot of things that it says about relationships that I think is very true about relationships, and I think that was realistic in portraying that. There was also a really great quote about like having to choose the person that you love. Like you have to choose to like work at your relationship, and both of them had kind of stopped, and about how they get back to where they were, which I think was very real. I mean, within the first 5 minutes, I was like, I don't want to read this. This is terrible. Naomi's terrible. And then about 20% through, I was like, okay, maybe I'll give this more of a shot. So I got through it, the 20%, and then by 60%, I was fully on board, rooting for them hardcore all the time. It ended up being even ending really sweet. Like, just, there was something really like tender about it towards the end. The problem though I have is that, first of all, I think this couple needs to go to couples therapy. Like, really bad. Because the problem is that a lot of their issues like stem from really bad family dynamics and toxic families, and I don't think that dynamic is necessarily going to go away. It's probably going to stick around, so I feel like I just want them to hash that out first, because I don't think that's going away. I'm rooting for them. I'm still rooting for them. I rooted for them way more than I thought I was going to for this couple, because they were extremely unlikable in the beginning. I thought the ending to me was very happy for now. I don't know how they're gonna make it, which I don't like thinking about my couples, but that's kind of how I felt. The next book I read, which I actually took me the whole damn month to read this book, and part of the reason which caused my reading slump in the first place was rereading this. I filmed my reading vlog for it. It'll be up probably next week. This is the date of Midnight's. I was reading this in preparation for Midnight Sun, which comes out tomorrow, August 4th. I have pre-ordered it. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to arrive. Obviously, there's problematic issues with Twilight. It was published in a time when we were not paying attention to those kind of things as a public consciousness. I couldn't figure out which prompt it fit, but then I decided it fits the clueless character, because I feel like Bella is mostly clueless through most of this book, especially towards the end. She just does some stupid things. I've rated it about 2.5 to 3. I'm not going to go into all the problematic issues, and I'm not going to go into what I thought about things, because there's going to be plenty in the vlog that you'll see. I will say I like Bella a lot more in the book than I did in the movie. She doesn't get enough credit. She's probably actually the only character besides Carlisle that I like in the book. And it drags for me. Rereading it drags for me. I mean, granted, I should also say that this book I read not in my teens. I read when I was 22, I believe. So I read it in a very different time in my life. But rereading it was very interesting. Do I think the writing was terrible? No. Do I think the writing is good? Not necessarily. Do I think the story is still interesting? Yes. Did it really need to be 4 books? Oh god, probably not. I really am rooting for Midnight Sun. I really hope it's good, because I liked the, tidbit of Midnight Sun that we got ages and ages ago. But I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see how it is. And that's it in a nutshell. I'm not going to go into that. If you want to know really more detailed thoughts about all the things, please watch my reading vlog. That should be out next Friday. And the last book that I read was Paula Santiago and the River of Tears by Taylor K. Mejia. This I rated 3 stars. It is a Rick Riordan Presents book. Rick Riordan does the Percy Jackson series and all the series and spin-offs from that. He's been doing a Rick Riordan Presents series, getting authors of own voices to write stories from their mythology and their mythology from their cultures. So, which is great, and I totally think that's amazing and appropriate. And he's had like several books have come out from under that like umbrella of his. I haven't read any of the Rick Riordan Presents, but I am very familiar with Rick Riordan and his style. This is definitely not that. This is based mostly on La Llorona and the ghost. If you're familiar with that ghost, she lures children to drown because her death is that she kills her children in the river and then she kills herself, which is kind of dark. I mean, it's a dark concept, and the book itself is a little bit darker for a middle-aged book. Granted, I think middle grade can be dark. Not necessarily a first book in a series is dark, which this one is. A lot of things that I did enjoy about it. It's great on tying in social issues. I liked the depiction of Paula struggling with the relationship with her mother as a second-generation American, and I think there was something really real in that. There was, yeah, and granted, I'm not a Known Voices reviewer, so please keep that in mind. But I think the intro to the mystical world was really weak. Once you get into like the mystical side of things, from the real side of things, just kind of, it was like 2 separate books. It didn't seem like the 2 stories connected very well. And then it introduces a lot of different concepts and explains nothing. And I understand it's a series. I understand there's multiple books. But you have to give me something. Like, I have to understand, like, Paula's, it's mentioned the dreamer, and apparently she's seen as the dreamer. Explains nothing about what that means. And also these kids are supposed to be 12. I feel like they read a lot older to 12 to me at times, and some of the concepts and themes that Paula struggles with. I love the relationship with her best friends, though, Dante and Emma. I think I just needed a little bit more of an explanation of what the mystical things that were happening, and didn't get anything. And for me to be interested in the world that you're trying to develop and mythology that you're trying to develop, you have to give me something for me to be interested in the rest of the series. And so at this point, I don't really care what happens to any of these characters. It was a little bit disappointing for my first book in the Rick Riordan Presents series. That was ARC that was provided me from NetGalley. Comes out today on August 4th. So you can, if you still want to if you still want to check it out and see what it's about, then you can definitely, it's available. You can buy it today. Hi, just quick editing Bethany here. I realized while I was editing that I totally forgot to include 2 books that I actually read this month. So the first book that I forgot to add, and am adding now, that I read during July, that didn't really have a prompt in Pop Culture Readathon. I just read it because it was something fun and smutty that I just decided to add to my TBR that I was in the mood for, was Sweet Mercy by Nina West. Nina West is the pen name for K.A. Tucker. That's her smuttier books that she writes. And this is from the Dirty Empire series. They are on Kindle Unlimited if you want to check them out. I rated it 4 stars. It is about Mercy and Gabriel. Mercy is in a situation where her dad's in jail for murdering someone who sexually assaulted her. And Gabriel is like the son of a crime boss. And Gabriel noticed her right away. Apparently she's a very beautiful, attractive woman. And he basically leverages her to sleep with him, to come live with him, and he will take care of her father in jail. And as the book progresses, it seems that he's still starting to fall more and more and more for this woman as they spend time together. So also very smutty, also very steamy. The second book, I already kind of started at least a little bit at the beginning, and also very steamy. So it was delightful. I would definitely recommend it if that's your thing. The next book that I read was for Pop Culture Readathon. It was the creative prompt. I found Guitar Notes by Mary Amato on my bookshelves. It's really short, about 250 pages, about Trip and Lila. They are, I can't really tell if they're high school students or in 8th grade. It's kind of hard to tell because they sound very juvenile. I want to say they're in 8th grade, so they're like 13 or 14. So they're young. Lila is a cello player, and she is like a virtuoso cello player that has inherited this ability, or has basically been kind of forced to practice because her mother was a cello player and her mother has passed away. So the dad has kind of imposed this cello playing on her, and Trip is playing guitar, which he got into after the death of his father. So they start passing notes to each other in a shared music room that they have that they're supposed to be practicing. And Lila starts picking up the guitar, and then they both start collaborating together on songs together. It's really, really cute and very sweet. I think the progression of their relationship's really genuine and very sweet. The juvenile thing kind of bugged me. I won't say it's, everything. The writing was very straightforward and it's not very nuanced or complex, but it was very, very sweet. So I rated about 3.5, between like 3.5 and 4 stars. And that's actually my July wrap up. And I will finish off with my send off from my previous footage. And that is it for me for my July reads, for what I did for Pop Culture Readathon. If you read any of my things that I read, please let me know what you thought about in the comments. I'd be really, really interested to see. And please let me know if you read any other Rick Riordan Presents. I would really be interested to see what else I should read. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see any more of what I read and what I do, you can please subscribe, hit bells. You can check out my social media down below and see all the things. Thanks again for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye!